get mine. You get yours, I get mine. You get yours, I get mine. Aight, then I'm gone. You get yours, I get mine. You get yours, I get mine. You get yours, I get mine. Aight, then I'm gone. You get yours, I get mine. You get yours, I get mine. You get yours, I get mine. Aight, then I'm gone. You get yours, I get mine. You get yours, I get mine. You get yours, I get mine. Aight, then I'm gone. Movie screens, then life's the biggest production, and it's a bitch with a big appetite for seduction. All of a sudden, niggas fussing for a big introduction.
Hey y'all, this is Daniel. Welcome to Blunt Talk, baby. How we doing? Episode 19 is finally here. I know I've been gone for a couple weeks. I'm sorry, guys. I was taking in the playoffs and its purity. You know what I mean? I actually wanted to sit down and watch as many of these playoff games as possible just to give you my feedback right now. That's the first topic of today's episode. We're going to focus on like a recap, review-ish type deal with the NBA playoffs, and then the European Euros, the like their version of a World Cup for the Europeans, starts today in soccer. So I'm gonna give you like a couple of my teams that you should be out here looking for to succeed. Basically, I'll give you a little bit of a preview, not a full-on preview, but I'll give you some of my perspective on it. So let's start off with hoops. Basically, I kind of want to start off with the Phoenix Suns because they're mollywhopping the Denver Nuggets left and right, man. It's very sad to see. Nikola Jokic just won the MVP award for the Nuggies, and it's like, I'm happy for him. He finally got it, but his team is so depleted, sadly. Like, Michael Porter Jr.'s now got an injury in his back, and he's struggling to put up shots. The man looks like an old person with a cane, the way he's running down the court. That's not good for an athlete that gets paid money to play the sport. The Jamal Murray's injury is hurting them a lot. That Canadian was a big part to that team. If you really think about it, if the easiness for Jokic in the situation with the prior team before the injuries, he had so many pieces. He doesn't have to be that aggressive. Now, it's not in his nature to be this aggressive, but he's trying to do too much. And with DeAndre Ayton playing his defense and the job that he's doing on Nikola Jokic, it's not as easy. You know what I mean? So, like, it's interesting to see. I thought this was going to be a very more back and forth series, but both games so far in the series have been, like, not blowouts, but, like, they haven't been close like that, if that makes sense. I have two fun stats that I heard today. I believe it was Ryan Russillo, one of his episode of his podcast, one of the latest ones he did. So the first one is DeAndre Ayton is one of the first players ever in NBA history to like record 20 and 10, which is 20 points and 10 rebounds on over 65 field goal percentage in NBA history ever since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it back in the day. That's insane. The other one is Chris Paul is the first player, not the first player in NBA history. He's the most recent player in NBA history to have done a game with 15 points and 15 assists and 0 turnovers. And for those who don't know what a turnover is, that's when you lose the ball, which is pretty impressive in itself. God damn, I got to give him a props. You guys know who were the two other people who did it before him? It was Chris Paul on the Clippers, and it was Chris Paul on the Hornets. So Chris Paul is the only guy in NBA history to have done the improbable 15-15 and 0 turnover game. So you got this Phoenix Suns team is looking like a championship caliber team. If I'm keeping it real with you guys, it's looking like the team with the most momentum and the most hype behind them too. And the way that they're carrying themselves on the court just shows you it's like, damn, these guys really know that they're gonna give it to you. But not just that, they do it. Like, it's like they talk the talk, they walk the walk, they actually own it. And with a leader, veteran presence like Chris Paul, I have a lot of faith in these guys. It's honestly going to depend until more so. I feel like it would be a situation if either Chris Paul gets seriously hurt and can't play, or if they face Brooklyn in the finals type situation, because that Brooklyn team, that'll be the way that we segue into Brooklyn, because they have not had James Harden for this whole Milwaukee series. And the first two W's they had against Milwaukee were atrocious in the sense that it was not entertaining to watch, and it was like a big discrepancy in the margin. Game 3 was a different story, and they lost, but it's still impressive that they've been able to do this without Harden. Imagine if Harden was playing. Bro, this series would be a sweep, man. And I hate to say it, but like, I love Giannis. I love the box, Middleton, WD-40, man. Slick as oil, like Drew Holiday, Brooke Lopez, Splash Mountain. You know what I'm saying? But like, I feel like they're just not enough, man. It's sad to see this, but like with Giannis shooting like 1 for 8 from three, and I've always been a supporter of Giannis on shooting threes in the sense that like he's improved it. So if he's open, he's gonna shoot it. Why not? But I've said this before. I feel like Giannis just gotta stick to one thing and just dominate in it, like in the Shaq way. Like Shaq was like put you in the post, give you the work, spin around, dunk on you all the time, possession after possession. Giannis gotta have like the ability to just consistently not get tired and do arrow step, layup, spin around layup, post move. Like he needs to add the post thing. I don't care for his shooting ability really. If you telling me Giannis ends up developing a post game, at least that he can like easily spin out of the post into like a drive, or that he can fade away from the post with a soft jumper, which is not really his domain. So like I want to see him add that if possible. That's what I feel like would put Giannis at the top now, because now this is the media is eating up Giannis with this too, man. You gotta look at this and be like, damn, son, 2 MVPs. First playoff appearance, he lost in the first round. Second playoff appearance, he lost in the conference finals against Kawhi. Third playoff appearance, he lost against Miami. Now he's going to lose in the semifinals again against Brooklyn, another a team that's really, I mean, I feel like if you end up losing to Brooklyn, it's not like you can like give yourself that much criticism because it's freaking Brooklyn. You know what I mean? So that's my dilemma with this Bucks and Nets situation. It's really just a matter of, I thought this series was going to be the best series we had in the second round. And it's just not living up to it. So I generally do hope that with the rest of the series, because it's only been 3 games so far. So, hey, man, we at least have 2 more minimum. So hopefully these next 2 games in that series will be much more entertaining. Hopefully. KD, I said this to my homies in one of the group chats I have. It feels like the MVP of the playoffs so far, though, has to be in the East. You have to give it to KD. The man's averaging like 31 points per game, 50 plus field goal percentage, and like a 50 plus a 3-point field goal percentage. And like from the free throw, it's like over 85 or 90 or something crazy like that. He's like the shooting splits, the true shooting percentages for KD are crazy. He's actually getting a decent amount of assists for KD, rebounds too. I wish he would be doing more on the defensive end, but like I don't mind it in a sense because I always feel like KD focusing on the defensive end would take away from his offense. So like I would rather see KD just drop 40 on you instead of dropping 25 and like getting like 3 blocks and a bunch of like huge, like, you know what I mean? That's just me. But however, the MVP for in the West in the playoffs so far, I gotta give it to this man Donovan Mitchell, man. You guys realize that the Donovan Mitchell's undefeated in the playoffs this year? The Utah Jazz aren't. They didn't have Donovan Mitchell for game 1 in the first round. Donovan Mitchell's undefeated in the playoffs, man. And it's kind of crazy to see this. Like, game 1 against the Clippers. He was like 2 for 7, 2 for 8 in the first quarter. And like, I was at work. Me and my coworkers were like, man, this doesn't look like a Donovan Mitchell game, I guess. Got home, looked at the score. He had 45. He went off for like 30 plus in the second half. What the hell, man? And the game 2. If you didn't watch game 2, you missed out, man. He started off in the first quarter with like 14 points. Then he had like 13 more in the second quarter. So he had like a total of 27 in the first half. Jeez, man, this man was balling out. And I really do agree with like people like Stephen A. Smith, Charles Barkley, and all the other guys in the TNT halftime show and everything, because it really feels and looks like Dwayne Wade. I mean, my bad. That Donovan Mitchell's the next Dwayne Wade. It just feels like that. The driving ability, the speed and the quickness, the ability to just drive between defenders and break the defense apart like he does. It's not even like about the flashiness in his dribbles and his handles and the way that he's so explosive. It's about the way that he actually does it so effortlessly. And that boy Donovan Mitchell got injured at the end of the game. And not only did he get injured at the end of the game, but he's really not been 100% this whole playoffs. The whole time you can see him hobbling at times and like holding on to his ankle. Like that injury is serious for him. I don't know. But I mean, the Utah Jazz are looking like a tough challenge for Phoenix. I'm really intrigued to see a Utah Jazz Phoenix Suns series that goes to 7 games. I feel like that'd be one of the most fun and exciting games, not games, series of games we could have these year in the playoffs, honestly, from a pure basketball entertainment perspective, not just a star level, more like of actual teams that are well built and not like just star loaded. Like, cause if you really think about it, Donovan Mitchell's like top dog for Utah. The rest of the guys are great players, but you're not going to say that all of them are superstars. Same thing with Phoenix. It's not like a Brooklyn effect. With Brooklyn, it's like, okay, you got KD, Kyrie, James Harden. Okay, we get it. You know what I mean? So it's not, I don't know. I feel like I want to root more for like a Phoenix or a Utah team that no one thought were going to be the ones left standing. That's it. And you guys see that jersey right there? That's for the Clippers, man. God, God damn, man. The fun guy and Pandemic P ain't doing much right now. At the start of the series, the one thing I will say, like Max Kellerman said at First Take, the Clippers ended up losing the first games against Dallas in the first round, and they ended up winning that series. So it's not over yet for Utah, but I just got to see Kawhi and Paul George both have great games at the same time at home in order to believe it. Like the only reason, like the only way that the Clippers have a chance in the series is that they win the next 2 games so that they go back to Utah for game 5 on a 2-2 split. Because if Utah wins a game on the road, it's over already. I just have no confidence on the rest of the Clippers. Like Paul George had a really good game too. Although I know he shot horrible. He probably shot like 32%, honestly speaking, but he still had 28 points and he had like 7 or 6 points at least in the last minute and a half of the fourth quarter. He was the only one that was actually able to make shots at the end of the game because Utah started locking up the Clippers. So that's the thing, man, because Royce O'Neal for Utah is a great defender, underrated as hell. He deserves his flowers, man. That man will lock up Kawhi and will lock up Paul George. And there's a stat I got for you guys, too. Out of all the players in the league, even though Royce O'Neal is 6th on defensive win shares, there's no player in the league that has been, I don't know how to word it exactly. There has been no player in the league that has been assigned more to guard stars this year than Royce O'Neal. Statistically, it shows you the amount of times that he's been guarding the opposing team's best player. Statistically shows it. Man's up for a challenge. Utah's got a bunch of dogs. Ingles, Bogdanovich, Rudy Gobert, man. Rudy Gobert had himself a game yesterday, a playoff career high 20 rebounds, bro. So I don't know. I really love Donovan Mitchell. I love the Utah Jazz team. They don't even have Mike Conley. So imagine if he comes back, that could be a different dimension for them in the next round against Phoenix. Because I don't think they'll be able to beat Phoenix without Mike Conley. I think they generally need Mike Conley. They need that extra firepower, extra spark. Or maybe they don't. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, 45. I don't know, man. The last second round series I'll talk about is the Philadelphia Sixers and Atlanta Hawks. I actually have not been able to catch any of the 2 second round games for the series, and I feel bad about it. But it's kind of sad that this man Joel Embiid is dropping like 37 and 40 on like coming back from an injury. Like, man's not 100% healthy, and he's still carrying this team on his shoulders with all that weight. Tobias Harris had a bad game 1, had a better game 2, not like a great one, but he stepped it up. Ben Simmons had a great game 2 too, but he had a bad game 1, if I'm not mistaken, or other way around. But that's my thing. This series is actually more competitive than like anyone would have thought of because Atlanta stole game 1. And like, as the person that's a Knicks fan that lost to the Atlanta Hawks in the first round, I'm telling you guys, don't underestimate these guys. These guys will be shooting for days. And not only are they going to keep shooting until they make them, they can play defense too. They got some specialists on the defensive end, like the DeAndre Hunters, man. DeAndre Hunter's a stud, bro. Are you kidding me? People forgot about him. They were doing so good without him. It's like adding him to the mix. It's like, oh, bet you telling me we got him back? Like that DeAndre Hunter, people forget when he was in college for the University of Virginia, they won a title. But why? DeAndre Hunter was not only the star for that team, but was like the best defensive player in the country. And I'm telling you right now, DeAndre Hunter has the potential, and that keyword's potential. I'm not saying he's going to become, I'm saying he could become the next Kawhi Leonard. Just saying. Defensively, he's there. Offensively, I gotta see it, but that's my hot take on that. The other thing, hear me out. I love Clint Capella, and I've been like hyping him up this whole year and everything. And John Collins, I've always been a big John Collins guy, but like they're just not good enough against Embiid. That's really it. I feel like eventually the Sixers are gonna win this in 5-6. Even 7. Hey, this might even go 7. I don't know. The home court advantage in Atlanta might get these guys to cry. Honestly, Joel Embiid might be doing crying like he did against Toronto when he lost by the shot of Kawhi. But at the end of the day, I still think we're going to see a conference finals involving Utah Jazz against the Phoenix Suns. Both those West series, I thought they were going to go 7 games at first, but I'll give the Denver Nuggets Phoenix Suns one like 5-6, and I'll give the Clippers Utah one 6-7 at least, because I feel like the Clippers are going to make this a series. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I think they still have a shot. It's not over yet. On the East, I gotta give the nod up to Philly. I mean, on paper, they're just the better team. If Seth Curry's having games like the way he is having, and people like Shake Milton's doing the shake and bake, I mean, it's kind of hard to stop, because that's my biggest thing in the playoffs for me. People always say at the end of the day, who has the star power, star players will take you as far, and that's understandable, and I can agree to that to some point. But in reality, you've seen it, like when Toronto won the title, for example. It wasn't just Kawhi. Someone like Fred VanVleet came out of nowhere and started like shooting lights out after he had a kid. And there's others. There's so many stories and like playoff runs. There's the people. In reality, you need like, because the star players are always going to have to show up, or at least you would think they would, right? But when you get the other people that don't have the attention on them to show up and have big gains, that's what matters most, in my opinion, because you can't rely on those people all the time. So when they step it up, that's a huge bonus for you guys and can help change the tide of a series, or it can help change the tide of a game. So that's my opinion. I think it's going to be Philly versus Brooklyn. And I don't want to go further on with predictions. I just wanted to like recap on like the current series and how like happened. Teams like the Lakers, damn, they lost to the Phoenix Suns fair and square. And LeBron James going to be playing for the Toon Squad now in Space Jam. He ain't playing for no Olympics. He tired. That man tired. That man needs rest, son. What else? My Knicks, man. Hey, man, I'm disappointed, but I'm happy as hell at the same time. If you would have told me we would have made the playoffs when we started the season, I wouldn't have believed in you. Second thing is, I hate that Max Kellerman keeps saying that all expectations should change and adapt throughout the course of a season because of how the length and everything. I'm like, man, shut up. I don't want to hear, because you can't really do that to us. Because as a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in 8 years, you can't tell us that we were expected, even though we had that great of a season to finish with home court advantage. You can't tell us that we needed to like win that series for the season to be a success. This season already was a success to the All-Star game, bro. Julius Randle made an All-Star. He was named the most improved player of the year. We got the coach. I don't think Thibodeau really deserved it over Monty Williams, but I'm not going to complain. We got the coach of the year. We had a candidate for 6 man of the year, and I bet you Emmanuel Quickly at least going to be a first team or second team all rookie, and maybe Obi Toppin. Maybe. Nah, okay. RJ Barrett improved like crazy compared to his rookie year. Sure, he didn't have the greatest playoff series, and then like he's very inconsistent at times. This is my one thing I'll say before I change topics. But even though I love the way Thibodeau has made this team into a defensive juggernaut, I want to see a different type of offensive scheme, because it's not against Julius Randle. I love Julius Randle, and I've been supporting Julius Randle this whole year. I was very negative on him the previous year after we saw what we saw from him. But at times it feels like either Randle's doing too much or is trying too much. And like, it doesn't let other people like the RJ Barretts, the Reggie Bullocks, and like the Derrick Roses to get as much of the share of the sugar as they want. I want to see something different with that. That's really it. Because like when we say things like, oh, Julius Randle did this, but then like RJ Barrett had a bad game, I'm like, all right, look at the game. How many times did RJ Barrett really get the ball? How many times did Reggie Bullock get the ball? How many times did Emmanuel Quickly get the ball? How many times did someone like Nerlens Snow? It's like that. So it's good because he's efficient. Julius has been efficient throughout the regular season. Came to the playoffs and it was a different type of defense he wasn't used to, and he just crumbled under pressure. He had a couple good games at the end of the series, but it was too late at that point. So me being honest, I feel like we generally just need one more piece to add. And when I say one more piece, I don't mean like any piece. I mean like a top level piece that will take this team to another level of consistency and a difference in the offensive scheme. And that's it for me for the NBA playoffs. I'm going to go over real quick over the arrows. So I was originally going to do one team per group, but then like I don't really want to do that because there's some groups that don't intrigue me that well. I'll say first off, Italy. They got a new manager now. This is like a new era for them because they've had like their collapses recent tournaments. If I'm being honest, like they didn't even qualify for the last World Cup. I don't know if you guys remember that. in other European, they've faced a lot of European defeats. They've faced the CONCACAF International Champions League or the United Nations whatever tournament. Like they've just been on the gutter recently, but like they have some guys on the come up, and I think they have a good roster, an easy group with Switzerland, Wales, and Turkey. And they already won the game one. The Euro started today, and the first game was Italy versus Turkey, and they won 3-1. So Italy's got firepower, and Italy as a whole, like as a cultural thing for the sport of football, they're known for their defense. So you're not scoring on them. It's not going to be that easy. So I see them having a good run. Hey, maybe make it to the semifinals or the championship. They have an easy path, in my opinion. A team that I'm big on is the Belgium, the Waffles. I'm going to call them the Waffles. I'm sorry if I offended anyone. I mean, I thought it would be funny. But anywho, Belgium for the last, 8 years has had like their golden generation. And I honestly think this or the next World Cup might be the end of this golden generation's era. A lot of their players are in their 30s now or about to enter their 30s. And they're not the youngest of bunch. Like they have an old veteran squad, but they're really talented. Like players like Eden Hazard. They got Axel Witsel still. Romelu Lukaku just won a title in Italy. The first time a team other than Juventus won a title in Italy in like 10 years. So that's really good for him. Belgium's got a lot of wingers, and Batshuayi is another backup striker. Their defense, I don't like their defense if I'm keeping it real with you. Like I think their defense is old. People like Bertongen, Vermaelen, Alderweireld. I can't even think of any other person that's a defense. So it shows you. So I think if I'm keeping it real, this is their best shot to win the Europe Euros with this conjunction or like this specific group, honestly. Because if not, I just don't think they'll be able to do it. Kevin De Bruyne's injured. He's one of my favorite players. I have not heard if he's gonna play for them because of this, but like he missed a bit of the season for Manchester City, so I would doubt it. Another team, let's go up to all right. The one thing that really intrigues me is that a lot of these groups are very easy for like the favorite team. But we have a group of death of the centuries. Hear me out. There's a group with France, Germany, Hungary, and Portugal. And then the one thing that you should know in the Euros is not like your average tournament. There's 6 groups instead of 8. So the way that it works is that in the third place, and the team that finishes third place in the group, the four best third finishes make it up to the next round and get matched up like in the brackets. So I feel like all these 3 teams would be safe, but the way that it works in group play, I feel like one of them would screw up and somehow finish last, which worries me because these are 3 teams that generally have a shot to win. Portugal won last year. Ronaldo, this is probably Ronaldo's last Euros if we're keeping it real, man. He's not the same Ronaldo, but they got a golden generation on the come up. It's kind of they got lucky. Ronaldo's about to retire, and now they got all these wonder kids on the roster. Like, damn, I wish I was. Germany's trying to find their new golden generation because all of their guys just got old and they're trying to develop in the future, like the Serge Gnabry and the Timo Werners. But like I don't think Germany has a shot to win this if I'm keeping it real with you, because like they're still trying to go from the transition of going through like old in with the out with the old in with the new. So I have to wait and see if they do changes to the rosters, because like people like Jerome Boateng, I was pretty sure was still playing was still under the national team selection this year. So it's like he's old. He really shouldn't be playing for Germany when Germany has as much talent and depth as they do. You're telling me they don't have younger people to replace those? I don't know. So that's my thing. And their coach, they got the longest reigning coach of all the teams here in the Euros, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. Joachim Low. I get it. He won you the 2010 World Cup, but like, no, not 2010. 2010 was Spain. He won you the 2014 Cup in Brazil. But I don't know, man. He's picking a lot of the people from that cup still. And it's like, you got to just go full in with the new generation at some point. You know what I mean? The other thing is France. France just won the World Cup. Karim Benzema is going to play for them for the first time since like being kicked out of the squad for like 6 years. It's an interesting story. I don't want to get demonetized and explain the actual description of the situation, but just know he got in some trouble. So they kicked him out and there was beef between the team. There's people in this France national team that have not talked to Benzema in years because of this incident. Like, they don't mess with each other. So I'm intrigued to see if either Benzema, being a great player that he is, talented, being a striker for Real Madrid, if he can introduce himself into this France squad with Griezmann and Mbappe on top, and they can actually succeed, and it doesn't cause us that much problems, because this France team from top to bottom is the most talented out of all the teams. You It's crazy, bro. You really can have a France A squad, a France B squad, and a France C squad. And I bet you the 3 teams would probably make it to the semifinals, bro. It's ridiculous the amount of talent that these guys have in the country. And lastly, I guess I'll go over a team like England. England's looking nice, and they have an easy group. The problem is if they finish first, they would play the third person, the third place finisher in the group of death. So it's like, it's not even like an easy matchup, if you know what I mean. But if they finish second, they get matched up with the second place team from another group. So it works out better for them. But I feel like if you want to win it, you got to go full on, like just try as hard as possible, not trying to lose on purpose to get a favorable matchup, no matter who you play for. England's got a deep team. They got some questionable decisions on their final squad. I love Raheem Sterling, though. He's one of my favorite players of all time. He gets a lot of racial abuse from fans around the world. So I'm hope that in the Euros where he faces a lot of diversity, he's able to tell him to suck him and actually have a good tournament and have a good run so he can prove that doubters wrong. Harry Kane's a prolific striker for them up top. Man's looking like he's going to go to Barcelona or Real Madrid soon with the way the transfer rumors are going. So he's about to have a great tournament. In the World Cup, he was the Golden Boot winner. He had 8 goals for an England team that made it to the semifinals, bro. Come on, man. Come on. England's stacked and loaded with talent. I just don't know their identity. And when I say their identity, I mean in the sense they usually play a formation with 4 in the back, but due to the injuries and roster that they have, I've heard that apparently they might start with a 3 in the back. And I don't know if that works for England, because they got people like Kyle Walker who can be a fullback / center back, and I don't know. I just don't see it in my honest opinion. So those are the teams that I would tell you to look out for these Euros. I didn't mention Netherlands and Spain because I doubt Netherlands' health, like Van Dijk. If he didn't win the Ballon d'Or last year, he was a nominee. And when it's only been Messi and Ronaldo winning it for the last 10 years and you're included in the conversation, you're a pretty good player. And they don't have him for this tournament. So I feel like they'll get out of the group. They'll do what they do, but there's no shot they win with this roster. And Spain is another team I wanted to mention, but I have doubts on their coaches, tactics, and the way that they are going to be orchestrated. You still got the same situation with Germany. They haven't fully gotten out with the old and in with the new. Sure, they got people like Piqués and Ramos who are, world-class talents, but they're really old, and eventually you got to do the transition. So I just don't have faith in Spain winning this. Plus, a lot of these teams are going to match up early with each other in the early rounds. So I had to pick my poison. You know what I mean? I had to make a decision. So I think the teams that I mentioned are the teams that have the best shot at winning the trophy. So that's it, folks. Thank you for tuning in, whether it was on YouTube or SoundCloud. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. Peace out, baby.